the complete reduction in neural activity in certain areas of the neocortex of the brain, the higher thought center of the brain, meaning that this person cannot really engage in, on the right, the person whose brain is labeled damaged there on the right-hand side of this slide, slide 29. Their neocortex is damaged, and this person in this state can probably not engage in much conceptual or higher order thought functions, sadly. Okay? And this, I put this slide in the presentation on natural law to help people to understand why there are so many people out there who are willing to try to tread all over other people's natural law, God-given rights, and try to usurp their sovereignty, and it is because that is what their brain looks like. Okay? Unequivocally, I will state, that is what their brain looks like. These are physically ill people. Physically damaged people. They are sick. Not figuratively, literally. Literally, they have brain damage. Okay? I'm emphasizing that really strongly, as I did when I covered this on earlier shows. Okay? Dominators are physically sick people that need help. They need healing. This is what their brain looks like on the right. They need to be brought back to the state of a normally functioning brain, which is the one on the left. All right? So let's move forward. Slide 30, natural law, also known as. And this is a brief section where I just basically explain to people that natural law has been called different things over many years. Okay? And these are essentially the same principles that are applied in these different types of ways of looking at natural law. But they have different names, and maybe people have heard about natural law under a different name. One is the law of cause and effect. And I gave a couple of quotes to basically show the general principles as people know them under these names. Okay? So for the law of cause and effect, I put down effect invariably follows cause. This is a more scientific way of looking at natural law. Effect invariably follows cause. And there we have the law of cause and effect. Okay? For every action, there exists an equal and opposing reaction. This is one of Newton's laws of motion in the physical sense. Okay? So this also applies in the non-physical sense, or in the sense that how natural law governs human behavior. Okay? That's the law of cause and effect. The law of attraction. Here's some quotes that demonstrate this. And this is something that is pretty hot in the modern world. People are all talking about the law of attraction and how to employ it. Okay? The energy that you emit is the energy that you attract, and that is essentially true. Energy flows where attention goes. Attention, along with time, being the other spiritual currency that we employ. What we pay attention to is what we get more of. Okay? And not in the sense that if you are becoming aware of some of the negative things that are going on, that means you're going to get more of that. It means put your attention on frivolous pursuits, and pretty much you're going to be ruled by people who have the will to rule you. Okay? You want to not pay attention to what's really going on in the world, well, you're going to be treated and your life is going to result accordingly. That's what it means. It does not mean this New Age BS notion of looking at the global conspiratorial aspects of what's happening as far as the organization of evil in this world is going to get us more evil just because we're trying to discover how that's working and taking place. Because in looking at that, in looking at all that shadow material, the solution lies therein. It helps to wake us up to what the solution really is. The things that we must not do, not continue to do, and continue to support. Okay? So, energy flows where attention goes. Law of attraction. As you think, so you shall be. I've already stated that on this show. Okay? Karma, or moral law, natural law has also been called. And I illustrated this with the famous quote, you reap what you sow. Okay? The seeds that you plant are the fruit that you're going to get back. Again, the universe is like a gigantic mirror. The energy we put out into it is the energy we receive back from it in the form of what manifests in our lives. And finally, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have done to yourself. Quite simply, and if people lived it, the world would transform overnight, but sadly they do not. Or most of them do not, I should say. Okay? Natural law expressions. This is the bulk of the presentation. Essentially, this is how natural law works, to put it quite simply. We're at slide 32 now. Okay? So slide 33, I'm going to start filling in this chart on the expressions of natural law. There is, of course, a positive expression and a negative expression of the energies that are used that basically make natural law go into effect. Okay? So, again, here we're seeing the principle of polarity. All right? There's a positive and a negative expression to how natural law works. All right? In the next slide, we're looking at the basic two polar forces. Again, the polarity principle, okay, that generate. This is called the generative force. Generation means creation. These are the two principles, the two energies or polarities that we use to create that which we manifest in the world. Okay? So these are the two basic emotional polarities. The positive one is love, and the negative expression is fear. Okay? These are the generative forces, the only two real generative forces that exist and that we have to work with. Every decision that we make is ultimately a decision between these two polarities. So, in the next two slides, I show representations of what these forces basically look like if we were to give them an image. Okay, of course, in reality, they don't have an image, but we're trying to illustrate concepts here. And we do that by, putting some graphics onto some slides that are appropriate to the concept. Okay, so slide 35 shows love, and slide 36 shows fear. In slide 37, I show the initiative expression of natural law. Okay, and again, we're going to show this in both the positive and negative expression. Okay, there's always a polarity that is inherent to these expressions. When you use love, the initiative expression, or in other words, the first phase, the beginning stages, is we seek truth. Okay? We are not in fear, so we want to know. This is the desire to know, seeking truth, and it manifests as knowledge. So knowledge is seeking truth. Okay? The opposite of this, or the negative expression of the initiative expression of natural law, is ignorance. So this is the negative beginning stage. Ignorance. This is where you say, you don't want to know. I don't want to know that. I refuse knowledge. I refuse truth. This is the refusal of truth. Okay? So that's based in fear. Wanting to know is based in love, or the expansive force of consciousness. That's ultimately the sense that we're talking about love in here. This isn't the romantic Hollywood movie, romance novel version of love. Okay? This is love as the force that expands consciousness and wants you to look at that which is and understand that which is. Okay? That's the sense we're using love here. So, ignorance is based in fear. Knowledge is based in love. Okay? And in the next slides, we see representations of knowledge and ignorance. And I'm sorry, it looks like I got slides 38 and 39 reversed. I will fix that and re-upload the document. But slide 38 should be the knowledge slide, and slide 39 should be the ignorance slide. So, ignorance... knowledge, there's a picture of it there on slide 39, and this is, kind of what it looks like, an enlightened being, shown in an energy sense, higher awareness expressed, the opening of the third eye and all the chakras, okay? In slide 30, what should be slide 39, it's slide 38 currently, we see a depiction of ignorance. Two people, eating horrible foods, watching a television that's telling them everything is okay. This, I believe, is art by David Dees, who's a phenomenal artist. and illustrates these concepts so brilliantly. It's a kind of a funny image, and it would be probably funnier if it weren't so true and so sad. But that's what ignorance looks like. And ignorance is the biggest wall or barrier to the understanding of natural law. So I put an image up of a wall there because we need to break down those levels of ignorance, and that's what this show is all about. Getting down to the causal factors by looking at it and removing our ignorance. Thomas Jefferson is quoted on slide number 41. He said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. So he's talking about ignorance here and how it is diametrically opposed to a free society, and I could not agree more. He understood it very well. The more ignorant we are as a whole, the more enslaved we will be. If we want to be free, we have to become knowledgeable, most of all, about ourselves. Okay? Ian Goddard on slide 42 says the same thing, only a little bit more harshly. He says, a society whose citizens refuse to see and investigate the facts is a society that chooses and deserves the police state dictatorship it is going to get. Societies who want to stay ignorant and keep their eyes closed about what is going on in their society will eventually end up enslaved. And that's just how it works. And I concur with this statement as well, harsh as though it may be. People who want their ignorance deserve the dictatorship they're going to get. It is richly earned by them. They have chosen it of their own free will. Okay, the next slide. The internal expression of natural law, in the positive sense, is sovereignty. It is the understanding of our sovereignty. It would more accurately be put. Sovereignty is internal monarchy. Okay, most people may have not heard of it put that way, but again, there are only two states of rulership. There is monarchy and anarchy, and as I've said, I'm a proponent of both of them. I believe in monarchy and anarchy. Now that's really odd of a statement to make, but you'll understand what I mean in a moment. Okay? Sovereignty means you are an internal monarch. Okay? Now, the opposite of sovereignty is confusion. That is the negative expression, inwardly, okay, of consciousness, of natural law principles. Okay? This is when there is internal anarchy. So that means in sovereignty, there is self-control. There is rulership of the self and one's own thoughts, emotions, and actions. In confusion, there is internal anarchy. There is no rule of self. Okay? There is complete confusion within taking place. And there's opposition consciousness, duality consciousness. As you think, so you feel, and so you act are not united. Your actions betray your thoughts and emotions. Okay? And we can look at sovereignty in the next slide, slide 44, showing an image of it. In slide 45, I show the word sovereign comes from the Latin language super, which means above, and regnum, which means rule or control. A sovereign is essentially a king or a queen, one who is above rule or control, one who is not subject to any other person or being. Okay? That's a sovereign. Ultimately, what a sovereign really is, in a wider sense, is a ruler of the kingdom of the self. A sovereign rules one kingdom only, the self. Population one. Okay? A sovereign is truly one whose thoughts, emotions, and actions exist in unison or non-duality. Particularly one who has recognized their sovereignty. They come into that state of non-duality. All right? So it's about unison, becoming one, becoming whole, meaning bringing your thoughts, emotions, and actions into alignment, non-contradiction, non-opposition. Sovereignty is self-ownership. It is